Recently, I had the displeasure of having to call my credit card company on an issue, and after being put on hold for about 25 minutes to 30 minutes, I finally got through to a customer service representative for some help. Now, will this be a bygone experience? Will AI replace customer service reps in the future? Here to help us address that issue is Richard Weylman, an author and a customer experience expert. Welcome, Richard. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Jay, good to be with you. Thank you.
Well, Richard, is my 25 minutes, 30 minutes of waiting in trying to speak to a customer rep normal these days? Will AI help enhance that experience going forward?
Well, first, I'll say it's normal. Most of us spend all of our time going representative, representative,
Yeah.
representative. For dial one if you're angry. There you go. Now, the
Yeah.
reality is, the thought process is at corporate often is we'll put in AI, and this is going to take the friction out of the experience the customer has. Well, the truth of the matter is we've already been down the road with chat bots, and we know how those work. If you don't spell the word exactly right and have the exact right question, it's I'm sorry, we can't help you. Or they'll send you
Hmm.
some frequently asked questions that make no sense. So what is AI going to do for us? Well, AI can personalize. It can help us navigate, find things online. It can help us to get, shall we say, answers to frequently asked questions without us having to spell it out exactly right. So it has a lot of great usage. And frankly, I've been working with a firm in Mumbai, India, as a consultant for several years on this very topic, and we've made a lot of advances. However, the piece that AI cannot do, and we don't even see it in the foreseeable next 5 years, is it have the ability to personalize. What does that mean? Well, we can personalize the conversation. I can know your name, but I can't
Hmm.
humanize the experience, meaning I can't go outside of that which it is I've been taught to answer or take care of a question. Quick example. American Airlines, they're just laying off 650 people. They're going to replace with AI. So you're going to dial 1-800, how's my computer? So the
Hmm.
reality is you're going to get this individual on the phone, it's AI, but they're not going to be able to take care of things like lost luggage. They're not going to be able to discover it. They're not going to be able to do many of the things that takes human interaction. And what people want today is human interaction. So
Yes,
that's
they
the
do.
direction. Yeah, big deal. Really a
So,
big deal.
Richard, how do you see artificial intelligence impacting the customer service industry in the near future?
Well, first things first, it can take care of the simple things very quickly. What does that mean? That means we spend less time on hold waiting for the next representative. That's the
Hmm.
first really big win that AI can bring for us. Secondly, it can really help with the operations side of a business because it can do things much more efficiently than humans can in many different ways, like directing packages or shipping, et cetera. We already see it in the warehouses and it's working great. It's improving, shall we say, the supply chain. So from an experience perspective, if I'm waiting for a package and I call UPS and AI comes on the phone and the AI computer tells me, yeah, your package is so and such, and it'll be there at 7 o'clock tonight, that's a win. That's not a customer. I don't need a person to tell me that. That would be
Yeah.
helpful. That's where it'll be. But in terms of the, let's call it one-offs, the need for, I need to talk to a human, that's not going away. People want that humanization, that human touch. They want somebody who's kind, thoughtful, caring, and empathetic when a situation occurs that requires a person. And AI
Now,
will not be at this point. Now, we're not there yet, maybe 5 years, but even in 5 years, I don't see it. Too
do
difficult.
you see any challenges or concerns associated with replacing the representatives with artificial intelligence down the road?
Yeah, that number, there's a great move now that, well, it's going to save companies money. Well, the truth of the matter is that people today are loyal not for the service, they're loyal to the experience they have. So if they don't get what I would call an elevated experience, if they don't really feel as though you're kind, thoughtful, empathetic, and caring in your interactions with them, then the reality is they're going to take their business somewhere else. So the companies that decide that this is the way to go is to lay off people, take the jobs out of the marketplace and replace it with machine learning, let's call it what it is,
Hmm.
and help us as consumers. The consumers will rebel, just like we did with chatbots. Why did they go away? Because they didn't work to our level of satisfaction. They weren't an elevated experience. Look, at good service is a minimum expectation today. If you go to McDonald's, you go to any fast food, if the fries are cold, they replace them. It's free. It's called good service. If I buy something from you, or I have a ticket, or I want to go somewhere, I expect you to be able to service me in a reasonable way, in a thoughtful, kind, and empathetic way. And if you're not going to do that, that's a lousy experience. And I'm going to blast you online and denigrate your reputation. Look what's going on in the airline industry. It's the exact issue they're dealing with. They see it in hospitality as well. So is it going to replace? No. Where's it going to go? Companies that abandon the consumer by replacing them only with machine learning are going to learn a tough lesson. And that tough lesson is, hey, look, you don't personalize, you don't humanize. I got other places I can take my money.
That's right. Are there any specific industries or, say, sectors where AI is particularly well suited for customer service?
Yeah, exactly. The shipping industry is an example. I mentioned UPS. Amazon has done a spectacular job. But again, remember what Bezos, everybody talks about Bezos and sitting in front of the computer and grinding it out. We all seen the picture. But what we never really see is what he posted on the wall next to him. Now, what he had written on a yellow pad was, I'm going to build the most customer-centric company in the world. And it's worked pretty well for him. So he's been way ahead, and he's taken a lot of let's put it this way, he's got less people working in the customer service department and working in the warehouse, and more people making deliveries, because he's been able to bring in machine learning and really smooth out, take the friction out. So they've done a good job in the warehousing. They've done a good job in shipping. Automotive industry has done a pretty decent job. Hospitality's way behind. Don't think they'll ever catch up. We've already experienced it when you go into a restaurant, you have to order off a kiosk, and now they want you to tip them, or of course, placing the order through a computer. Well, this is a fantastic concept. So let me be even more annoyed. So the reality is, lots of industries have a long way to go to catch up, but because of that human piece. Quick point: I was flying American Airlines, which I don't do, but I had to because I speak at conferences all over the world, and I had to get into Dallas, and American was the best way to get there to accommodate the discussion and the conference I was doing. I landed. I'm at the airport. I'm waiting for my bags. The carousel never moves. Finally, I go to the baggage claim person who's reading the newspaper in American. I said, "Hi, here's my baggage claim." And he said, "Let me check." "Oh, you're no longer at the airport. Your bag's out of the airport." I said, "Pardon me?" He said, "The computer tells me the bag's out of the airport." I said, "Well, where does that track?" He said, "That's our AI there. That tracks your bag." I said, "Okay." At that moment, my cell phone rang, because on my luggage, I have green masking tape that has my phone number on it. I answered the phone. He said, "Hey, is this Mr. Weylman?" I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "This is Bruno at Baggage Claim in Dallas. We tore your tag off. We don't know where your bag's going. Where are you flying to?" I said, "I'm upstairs in Baggage Claim." He said, "Oh, I'll put it on the elevator and send it up to you." There's your answer.
There's the answer.
If we
Let's see.
didn't have Bruno, I would be in lost baggage for the rest of my life, sold at auction on TV.
That's right. Let's talk about some specific types of customer interactions where human representatives are irreplaceable. I say at your fast food restaurants personally, but irreplaceable even with an AI technology. Where are human experiences irreplaceable?
Well, you're exactly right. In the fast food industry, sure, we can use a kiosk to order inside, et cetera, but we need that human interaction. Some fast food restaurants are now trying to use AI when you drive up to the drive-through and yell into the machine and it yells back at you. They're trying to use AI there, but the testing has been uneven. So you order a chocolate shake, you get a shake, but it's not chocolate. Well, that's a problem. Well, you didn't say it right. The machine didn't understand. So there's a place where that human interaction is going to continue to be important. Of course, with $20 an hour we're seeing in some states, that's going to be difficult for some of these franchise owners to be able to pay and not have machine learning. So that's one. Other places where we really see it as important is in the reservation system. We all experience this online. We go online, we make a reservation, but if it doesn't go well and you need to talk to somebody or you need an exception, machine learning is not really good at exceptions. It's great following the path that's been laid out for it. It's like an assembly line. As long as the question is on the assembly line, we know which answer to give you. But if that question is not on our, shall we say, platform, then the machine doesn't know how to answer you. So in those industries like hospitality, the restaurant industry, when you're talking about face-to-face, that again is another place where AI cannot replace the human touch, if you will. anything in the repair industry. Now we can use it on the back end, Jay. We can streamline that air conditioning company so the profit margins are better, the costs are lower, the representatives that are out there servicing your air conditioner is doing a great job because he or she is far more efficient. It's kind of like what UPS did when they finally used AI to figure out that they had to set their routes up so the trucks were making more right turns and less left turns because it saved fuel and time. Well, great. That's what it can do. So industries where we're going to need it, we're going to need the trades to be able to get more efficiency and keep costs down. Secondly, we're going to need it in hospitality for the ability to connect with people on a personal level and to be able to streamline things like the reservation process. Thirdly, in the food industry, it's going to be important to have people that are going to be able to connect with people. When you and I go out to dinner at a good restaurant, we don't just go for the food, we go for the experience. And if the experience is great, we're in. And if the experience isn't great, we're not going back. Because people today are going through a great reevaluation. Am I with the right provider, right doctor, right dentist, right hairdresser, right restaurant, right car, right neighborhood? Let's name it. So what business owners have to do is get laser focused on re-engaging with their consumers by doing what? When you send out an email or you send out a note, make sure you know their name. You know, my first name is starts with a C. I don't use it, but I get lots of emails. Dear C. I don't read those. T. Boone Pickens was a friend of mine. He never went by T, but he got lots of mail. Dear T. So
Yeah.
know your customer's name, connect with them at a deep level, cultivate the relationships because relationships are what drive revenue today. So where is it needed? Industries that require the touch of the consumer to the individual that either runs the business, services the business, or in some way serves the consumer. That's where we need the personal touch. The rest of the industries, sure, we can do really well in the shipping industry, in the automotive industry, in the OEM markets. We can do lots of things in the transaction side, but relationships drive revenue. So companies need to focus on the relationships. And if you're in the relationship business of any kind, AI can help smooth out the transaction, but it's never going to replace that humanization that people really want today, Jay.
Well, let's talk, Richard. One last one here. AI is becoming more prevalent in our lives more and more every day. What role do you see human representations playing alongside AI in the future of customer service, and how can they collaborate effectively?
Wonderful question, and one that doesn't get asked enough, Jay. Thank you for that. Now, here's reality. And I'll give you a classic example. How about Chewy? That's everybody kind of knows Chewy, you know, the pet care company, we'll call it that. All right, now here's a classic example. They got AI rampant throughout their entire distribution system. That's one of the reasons they keep costs down. But what they really have done is married the human, let's say the customer service rep, we'll use that phraseology, and their AI machine. Now, what does that mean? I'll give you a classic example. I'm speaking in Nashville, Tennessee in November, just before my latest book came out. And I was speaking about elevating the client experience to stand apart from the competition. You know, 1,000, 1,200, ballroom full of people. I do a lot of keynotes all over the world. So in any case, I was probably 20 or 25 minutes into my 45-minute presentation. I said, oh, by the way, I saw on LinkedIn today that this woman had posted about Chewy. Everybody know Chewy? And of course, the audience, yes. And it's like, great. And she had a standing order with Chewy for cat food. And the cat food just came. This was in November. I said, the cat food just came. And she called Chewy on the phone and said, I need to return this cat food. My cat has died. And the rep at Chewy said, absolutely not. You cannot return that cat food. You want to donate it to the shelter. We'll give you 100% credit on the bill. Wow. Well, AI took care of all of that part of the transaction. But here's what the human did. The human put that in the database, and guess what? Then AI sent a note card 3 days later. Now, how do I know that? Because I said, when I was speaking, I told the story, and I said, she had to donate to the shelter and they were going to give her a full credit. Everybody goes, wow. I said, but that's not the whole story. I said 3 days later, she got a bouquet of flowers and a condolence card from the rep at Chewy. And at that instant, a woman, Jay, in the middle of that audience of 1,200 people stood up, held up her phone and screamed, that was my cat.
Wow.
I was like, what? She said, yes, I posted that on LinkedIn this morning. I already got 123 likes. Look, 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 look. And I stopped right there. I said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, what does this tell us about Chewy? The whole room, Jay, the whole room starts chanting, we're switching to Chewy. We're switching to Chewy. So that's the now. How does that correlate? I reached out to find out how that happened. You know how it happened? That rep put it in the database. The AI picked it up, made sure the flowers got sent, make sure the card got sent. Who won?
Fantastic.
Who
Chewy.
won?
Yeah,
Everybody
both
won.
won. Yeah.
That's how you make it work, brother. Now, is it hard to do? Absolutely not. Except it requires one thing. You got to have a vision for the experience you want people to have. We worked with Freddy's Steakburger and Custard. You might know who they are. They great steak burgers, etc. And you know, they great steak burgers delivered in fun environment. Well, that's a wonderful promise, isn't it? But when we worked with them, we said, well, wait a minute, what's the experience going to be? They said, what do you mean? I said, what's the experience going to be? Oh, so we modified their vision for what the experience was going to be. And now it is great steak burgers and custard delivered with gracious hospitality in a fun environment. They just won the National Restaurant Award for the best fast casual in the United States. They beat everybody. Smash Burger, Culver's, everybody. Why? Because their fan club, which has exploded in size, people keep saying, I love the fact they deliver it with gracious hospitality. You see, if you have a vision for the experience, your customers are going to have an experience with you. Whether you decide what it's going to be, that's up to you. They are going to have an experience. You need to decide what's that going to be. And when you do that, it makes a difference. Up in your part of the world, I worked with the Minnesota Vikings when they built the stadium.
Yep.
We did a lot of improvements to elevate the experience that the fans had. And even with a losing season, they went from 17th in NFL revenue to 7th just because of doing the audit of the entire facility and making notes and having the team say, we could change this and change this. And don't point to the ladies' room and men's room, open your hand. Don't make it security, make it must pass through here to be a certified Viking fan. All these little things give people a great experience. I have a great experience. I'm signing up to come back.
Richard, one last question for you. What causes you the biggest concern with customer service these days? I got to say, you know, it was during the COVID or even maybe post-COVID when everybody was, it got to be a tipping fatigue. You probably know what I'm talking about. You'd go into a restaurant and you ordered a pizza to go and you paid for your pizza, which was a premium price, and everybody wants a tip now. It doesn't matter where you're going. Are we still seeing the tipping fatigue now, post-COVID, now 4 years later? Is it getting better? How is that looking?
It's actually getting worse. And part of it is trying to do the duck and dodge by the individuals that own the enterprise to make sure they don't get caught in the $20 an hour trap, which is everybody deserves a fair wage. That's not where I'm going. I'm just saying that they're trying to figure out how they can shift some of the cost to the consumer for the help that they've been able to hire and have in hand. So what does all that mean? This tipping fatigue thing has really reared, shall we say, a sort of an ugliness with people. You know, what do you give a tip for? Well, to ensure proper service or prompt service. You can use a lot of phrases, but it was always, if somebody brought me a plate of food, I wanted to tip that person. If it was a great experience, I'd tip them more. Now you walk in and they spin it around for you to pay. And if it's up there, some of them, even I was in one the other day, 22, 25, or 30% tip. It didn't give you the option for no tip. And here's the point. People are sick and tired of being in a position where they are feeling obligated. You called it guilt. That's the exact right word, Jay. People are feeling like they're being guilted into tipping. If I order at a counter and that guy or gal makes me a sandwich and hands it to me at a counter, I don't feel like I have to tip that person for simply taking it off of one counter and moving it to the other, as an illustration. On the other hand, if I'm getting table service or I'm sitting at a bar having a drink and I get great service, well, of course, I would expect to tip that individual. So tipping fatigue is becoming a real issue in this country. And it's like everything else. Consumers vote with our wallets. And the reality is the more and more of this that comes up, and it's coming up everywhere. And it really started with Uber and Lyft, because when you take Uber, you take Lyft, whether you do or don't up there in the Dakotas, the truth of the matter is up in your phone? How much of a tip do you want to leave? And that kind of prompted the thought in people's mind, well, wait a minute, maybe they tip for everything else we do. Well, you didn't drive me to my house and you didn't take me to the airport. So that's a different level of service or experience. So the short answer is people are rapidly becoming fed up. I'm in the Customer Experience Hall of Fame. We do a lot of polling, a lot of data gathering of consumers. Uh, well, they're angry. We'll just leave it at that. They're
Yeah,
angry with, don't like the guilt
I
and the
gotcha.
false pricing. That's the other piece, the false pricing of it. It's a $10 item, but by the time I have to put a $2 or $3 tip on it, it's really not a $10 item. It's a $13 item if I'm going to eat there again. And people will vote with their wallets.
No, I completely agree with you, Richard. It really stuck in my craw for a long time, especially when, like you said, if I actually have to go to the bar counter to get my let's say a drink or whatever it is, and they expect a tip every time, that's a little outrageous, I feel. And well, anyway, we got to leave it there. Richard Weylman, customer experience expert. Thank you so much for the tips, the expert advice. I appreciate it. I hope to get a chance to talk with you once again down the road.
Well, it'll be my pleasure. My new book is out, 100 Proven Ways to Acquire and Keep Clients for Life. It's #1 on hot new releases on Amazon, and it has 100 different ways that consumers have told us that you as a business owner or professional can elevate their experience and make them customers for life, because relationships drive revenue. Thanks so much for being with you today. It'd be a pleasure to be with you again. Take care and bye
Thank you
for
so
now.
much, Richard. I appreciate it. Have yourself a great afternoon, all right?
I'll do it. Thank you.